In the old days, love was pure and true. Now it's just a show for all to view. People use it for their own gain, leaving hearts in sorrow and pain. Once a sacred bond, now just a game. Hearts are roll, karma just catches. In the shadows we see a love so pure and meek, but all that's left is a ghostly echo, a memory bleak. Longing for a bond that's true in this world so cold and weak. Yearning for the love we knew before the all turned antique. Lost in illusions of affection, bleeding like the mist. Hollow hearts yearn for connection, any realm dismissed. Seeking solace in echoes of the past where love truly exists. But all we find are mere reflections of what loved ones kissed. Amidst the ruins of our hearts, we search for something real. Yet all we grasp are faded echoes of what used to appeal. In this world where love has become just a commodity to steal. It's just a little food for thought. In the face of darkness, I stand tall and strong. With faith as my shield, I'll keep marching on. In the face of darkness, I stand tall and strong. With faith as my shield, I'll keep. Hey, what up, everybody? I hope all of y'all is having a blessed and humble morning. Continue to have a blessed and humble day. This y'all shorty Rachel. I want to welcome all of y'all to the Writers for Life brings you the Let's Talk About It podcast, right? Today we're going to be talking about, our today's topic is going to be about crossing the line, the scandal of a principal's inappropriate behavior, right? So we have a married assistant principal, right, who decided to nickname her student Sexy Chocolate. So says the cops, right? A married assistant principal in Florida was arrested after police say she tried to teach a 13-year-old student foreplay and nicknamed him Sexy Chocolate. Dr. Kevia Lark reportedly asked the student to also rub her feet. I mean, listen, I don't know what in the world is going on, right? It's so many things going on in our schools, right? I've had started this petition, right? The link is in the chat down below. It's also in the description box, right? For anybody that wishes to, join the a shorty on trying to get cameras into our schools in each and every one of our classrooms, not just in the hallways, not just in some of the classrooms, right? I want to take a minute, give a big shout out to all the parents that have come together and have helped, right, making petitions like this. We've made it as far as to, getting the class dojos out here, right? We got class dojos with the little cameras, pre-K to third grade. We got schools already, right? My daughter's school being one of them, in the process of cameras being installed in these classrooms and much more. So I want to give a big shout out to those parents that have come together, right? I have my own petition. It's in the link down below. You go to change.org or you go to move.org, you will see that a lot of parents have come together, right? Nationwide. It doesn't matter, we're in Philly, right? Because we're in Philadelphia, that's where we are located at, right? It's for like, it doesn't matter if you're in Florida, Washington, D.C., Ohio, Georgia, Texas, it don't matter. If you got a zip code, right, an area code, you're able to make these petitions and people are able to sign these petitions. So we need to get more cameras, more deeper backgrounds on these teachers. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, I do apologize for that. But like I was saying, these type of cases are getting worse and worse, right? I don't know that it's because, I think it's more because of the internet. See, the internet got its benefits to it, right? While it's got its, how can I say, his bad side to it, right? But I feel as though that people, coming together, whether it's out here putting in the footwork or coming online and talking about these topics, trying to, put in the work and to trying to get these politicians, right, to get, how can I say, to come together with us parents, right, to make our schools a safer environment. So today we're going to be reviewing and reacting to this married principal, which has a PhD, right, who has sat here and had inappropriate behaviors with one of her students. We're going to get deep into that, right? But before we do get started, right, I would like to ask y'all, how can schools establish systems to proactively identify and address patterns of misconduct amongst educators before they escalate? What psychological support should be offered to children and families impacted by educator misconduct? And how do we, how do us, we the people, right, come together, right? How does societal views on authority figures like educators affect the willingness of children to report abuse, right? And I feel as though that the same way as in when it comes to families, right, where kids are getting sexually abused, right, or molested, which they all fall under the same category, or physically abused or mentally abused, right? I feel as though that the same thing is happening in these schools, right? And people notice these type of things and they keep it hushed, right? And what's crazy, right? I don't know if I have any mods right now. I can't check the chat. I will check the chat in a minute, but I don't know if I have any mods. But if I do have any mods, right? Can y'all please leave the link to Word's channel down below, right? So people can go check him out. He breaks these things down, right? The philosophical way of philosophical. Oh my God, I can't even say the word. But he will break these terms down on why people behave like that, right? He has a lot of topics on this, right? And I feel as though that the more of us get together, right? In my case, my situation, my story, along with others, right, is proof enough that if we come together, we can actually, get things accomplished, get things done, reach the goals that we want to reach, right, when it comes to the politicians in these schools. People say that nothing can get done, we can't get no resources, but I feel as though it's the approach that we take, right? So this right here, right, us coming together, the petition is down below for those of y'all, right? This is a whole new petition. I do have an older petition, but I want to work with the new petition. It's fresher, it's better worded, right? It's and us drawing people's attention right now the way I wrote it down. But anyways, it is a new petition. The other one, it's been out for a minute. It wasn't really, getting any attention. But we back on track doing what we got to do. A shorty was out, I'm getting myself together. But in the process of me healing myself, me getting myself together after this car accident that I suffered from a year and a half ago, listen, I'm not going to stop sitting here fighting for our kids' rights. My child was one of the kids that was, how can I say, put in front of a judge, right? Because he decided to defend himself against his bully. And there's a lot of, students going through this. What's crazy is that the situations that are happening in our schools are way, how can I say, is beyond bullying. We got teachers, we got predators, right, on our school grounds. And that's, that right along with the bullying has to be taken care of. Who's Grady? Wait a minute. Blessings, Mel Dub. How you doing this morning? Welcome to the live. Guys, make sure y'all check out Mel Dub. Great conversations, great topics, yo. And he is also somebody that is on this YouTube streets, right? A great male role model for our youth. He also brings up these type of topics, right, when it comes to our kids and the schools, the teachers, and much more, right? And like I told y'all, right, we want to, like, Mons, back up. Like I've said time after time before, right? We do these lives, right, so that we could bring awareness to these topics, right? And we're not just bringing awareness, we're trying to bring solutions to the table. So before we get started, right, I want to tell a lot of people, if our opinions offend you, right, the door's right there. Just make sure the doorknob doesn't hit you, or the good Lord split you. All right, because we're here to bring solutions to the table and figure out which one is going to work. We're not going to debate this, right? We're not going to argue. We're not going to fight. We're not going to bash each other down trying to bring solutions to the table. And we're sure as hell not going to make excuses if solutions is what's being brought to the table. I'm allergic to excuses. And I call bullshit right away. Because when I hear somebody say this can't be done, I show people, look, it can be done. Where there's a will, there's a way. Grady Judd is the sheriff on your camera. He definitely known here in Florida. Oh shit. Well, this teacher hit his radar. Give me 1 second. My bad. I got my little child here. She's being a little monkey, and I just had to give her time out. These kids is out of pocket when they don't got school. You got me effed up. You're not gonna sit here and do what you want to do and think you're gonna get away with it. Nope. If I tell you to do something, do that shit. But we back on track, yo, man. We're not gonna talk about my little rugrat, yo. So we're gonna get this John. She has made it, to Grady's list. He got her mugshot right there, plain view for everybody to see. Me personally, right, when it comes to these predators, that be hunting our schools, that be hunting our communities, that be in our families, right? I feel as though, like I tell people, somewhere in La La Land, right, along with Peter Pan, somewhere in fantasy land, right, along with Peter Pan, I got that. I got the little mofo right there working for me. He's building caskets for me, all right? And then over here somewhere, we got the Undertaker and the Green Reaper right here. Yo, we out here. We gonna put these mofos underground. We gonna bury them 10 feet underground.
Took her feet out of her stinky shoes and put them in his lap.
A married middle school assistant principal has been arrested for reportedly telling a 13-year-old student to, quote, rub my feet like you love me.
As he's massaging her feet, she says, you're not doing it right. And she starts massaging his arm and shoulder and says, do it like that.
According to...
Uy, what a nasty hoe. Ay, Dios mío. Qué puerca esta puti puerquibris. Little hoe, like, little. She a big little hoe. Like, yo, isn't there enough men out here in the world that you could say, have rub your feet? You want to have a 13-year-old rub your feet. Then you want to teach him for his future girlfriend. Like, that's your job. You're not his mama. And his mama wouldn't even sit here. Listen, a mama would not sit here and teach her child, right, to rub her feet so that he could know how to treat the next girl. You got me fucked up. That's my child, not my fucking man. Teach him for what? See, red flags, yo. I'm telling you, when I see women like that, yo, before I didn't see a problem with it, right? When I was younger, because I didn't understand it. But as I got older, when I see older men and older women, start telling these teenagers and these little kids, how beautiful he is, or how beautiful she is, how cute, or being so flirtatious. Yo, now I look at them like, if you talk like that, you're capable of snatching this child from its crib. So mamas, be on alert, man, because these Krugers ain't like the Krugers from back in the day. They don't wait for them to hit 21 or 18, man. And even at 18, I look at it like, is you fucking serious? Nah, man, these Krugers want to come and take your 13-year-olds, your 14-year-olds, your 8-year-olds, your 6-year-olds. Like, I'm sitting here like these little kids don't even know how to wipe their ass. How the fuck does that shit turn you on? Grown ass woman looking at a child like he a grown ass man. This shit don't mix Lilith in disguise. Lilith, listen. Lilith in disguise. I was gonna wait and surprise y'all. It's gonna sound different behind the beat, because I'm working on this lyrical poem, right? It's gonna be behind a beat, and I'm gonna have the words, little phrases in this lyrical poem I'm gonna make, right? And you know, I'm not a rapper, but I sure as hell can make some poetry and put it behind some beats and make it sound dope. You see where I'm coming from? But shit, this bitch right here, man, we need to show, listen, we need to give our kids some poetic justice. And I'm telling y'all, man, them caskets, 10 feet underground with no tombstone.
Deputies, Dr. Kiva Lark allegedly called the student sexy chocolate and said the foot rub was supposed to teach him sexual foreplay. Now, this is a grown woman, an educator, allegedly talking to a child like this.
Facts now,
I'm Kennedy Walker, and I'll walk you through the details and break down how she got caught. For this story, we go to Poinciana, Florida, about an hour away from Orlando, where a middle school assistant principal is facing disturbing allegations involving a 13-year-old student. Her name is Dr. Kiva Lark. She's married, respected, and in a position of power at Lake Marion Creek Middle School. According to the Polk County Sheriff,
married, respected, and in the position of power in a middle school. Yo, let me ask y'all, what systematic failures might allow individuals in positions of authority to exploit their power over vulnerable children? How can schools and communities better identify and address inappropriate behavior by educators before it escalates? What can we do to put, let me get, you know what? Let me not be so professional real quick for some of those that don't understand, right? How in the world can we put these teachers behind bars, right? After they have sat here and sexually assaulted a child or have had inappropriate behavior with a child? What role does the public awareness play in preventing abuse and ensuring justice for these victims and future victims?
Sheriff's Office.
And my bad. Blessings, Reyes, blessings. I just saw you. Right, my bad. Let me give a big shout out to my young boy right there, guys. Make sure y'all go check out young Reyes, the drip king, right? He does UK music, right? He be uploading his shorts and stuff like that. Go check my young boy out. Show him some love. Show him some support. Yo, for real, man. Shout out to Reyes.
A male student was sent to Lark's office for throwing balled up paper during a test. But what happened next wasn't discipline. It was alleged bad behavior that would lead to her arrest. Witnesses and the students say Lark told the teen to rub her feet since, quote, he didn't have anything better to do with his hands. Here's what the Polk County Sheriff says happens next.
She promptly took her feet out of her stinky shoes and put them in his lap. And as he's massaging her feet, she says, "You're not doing it right." And she starts massaging his arm and shoulder and says, "Do it like that."
Then it reportedly escalated. Lark was heard saying, quote, "Rub my feet like you love me." According to deputies, she told the student all those things so he'd know what foreplay was when he got a girlfriend. Let that sink in. A 13-year-old child in the assistant principal's office being told to perform what authorities say was an inappropriate act.
Man, listen, if my child came home to me telling me that the teachers told, I'm telling you, I'll be up in that school like I was Griselda Blanco. Give me the phone. I'm calling the cops, Mike. After I've had my justice dealt, I'm telling you. Sometimes, it's just like, I feel as though that the justice system isn't going to do what it's supposed to do. And we got to give, how can I say, we got to put justice out there. We got to give these kids justice ourselves. Take justice into our own hands. Because, I'm telling you, people put you in this position. Listen, and I'm not telling anybody else they should be, it's just the way I feel. And I know I'm not going to act on it. I know from right and wrong. But sometimes, I just want to grab these mofos, right? Just pimp slap them, tie them, chain them up to the back of a car and just drive, right? Keep driving until there's nothing left. And the way on that drive, man, they're going to be hitting fire hydrants, cars, the street going to be tearing their skin apart. I want to keep driving until the streets tear their skin out, until there's no bones, until the freaking streets turn their bones into dust. till their brain matter is all over the streets. Because you know what? I think I'm saying too much.
Several days later, a witness says Lark expressed regret, admitting she crossed the line. But by then, the damage had already been done. On April 5th, the school principal reported the incident to authorities. And the deeper investigators looked, the more they found. The teen.
Do you know the U.S. solar company's nasty little secret? It turns out if you live in Pennsylvania, they have
told deputies Lark had also called him sexy chocolate in the hallway. When questioned, Sheriff Grady Judd said Lark called the foot rubbing a joke, claiming she was trying to humble the student.
What?
She's now facing 2 serious charges, lewd conduct and...
Hold on, wait a minute. She's a grown-ass woman. How is that a joke? And how you trying to humble a student? He's 13 years old. Nowhere in his head is he thinking that your fucking Muppet baby looking ass is fucking... He's not looking at you sexually. I don't know what's up with some of these females, Joe, but like, this is way beyond mental health. This is sick. This is disturbing. And I've seen plenty of grown-ass women be like this, yo. Like, they'll look at a 13-year-old, 14-year-old and talk about they sexy. And I look at them and I give them the big side eye. Like, is you serious, bitch? Sexy where? That could be your son. But to them, they don't matter. Because what's just crazy is, right, when you really listen to them, they like the attention from these kids that they can't get from a grown-ass man. And I'm looking at them like, you're sick. You're not going to get this from a grown-ass man because a grown-ass man ain't got time to play around. A grown-ass man ain't got time to joke around. A grown-ass man going to handle his business and do what the fuck he got to do. These bitches is wild out here. Treating these little boys like they grown-ass men. And y'all wonder why these little boys out here, these teenage boys out here walking like they the man around. Like, these grown-ass Krugers out here trying to snatch these little motherfuckers from the cribs and can't even raise them right. Why? Because you're not their fucking mama. Their mama raises them, not fuck them. We're not animals.
The lewd offense against a student by an authority figure. Authorities say Dr. Lark later admitted that her actions were inappropriate for her profession, but she denied saying anything inappropriate to the victim. Dr. Kiva Clark is now on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. And joining me to talk more about this is legal expert and author of the novel Open Bar, which is coming out this August.
Blessings, Dee. Blessings. Yo, this is getting out of pocket. Like, yo, how much? Let me see how I put this. How many more excuses can we put for these predators? How many more excuses are we going to make up for them? How should the justice system handle cases involving authority figures who exploit their positions? What can we do, right? And what I mean by that is, right, I'm looking more as into changing the policies, right? And the way that we could change these policies is by us, we the people. What's crazy is, right, in 2 weeks, people don't even realize that, you know, that we're going to be voting. It's that time around. I mean, it's every 2 years, right? First, they're going to start off with the judges. So we're going to be out here voting for the judges, trying to put them into the courts and stuff like that, the supreme judges and all that, DAs, all that. Votes taken, you know, y'all can put these DAs and these lawyers and these judges into office, into position. It ain't kind of, it's crazy. You don't even really hear about it because it's not like the presidential election. But these judges and these lawyers, we could take them out of office and put them in. If only we paid attention to what's going on around us. But the majority of us is so far up the celebrity gossip's ass that we don't even know who the judge that is in this court over here who is the DA in your city or your state. You see where I'm coming from? Like, shit. What are the psychological and emotional impacts on children who experience abuse from trusted adults, whether it's a teacher, whether it is a parent, or somebody within the community? Like I told y'all, man, we do these lives, right? Because we're not just bringing awareness, we're trying to bring solutions to the table, right? And like I tell people, man, a shorty don't debate solutions. And I'm allergic to fucking excuses. I ain't got time to hear this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to work. Have you tried it before? Have we ever tried it before for you to fucking sit here and tell me this shit ain't going to work? See, your priority is the celebrities and the bullshit and the drama and who got how much in their fucking pocket or whose car is parked in whose garage. My priority is the kids, their future. My money, I'm going to make it. I don't give a fuck what you got in your pocket and what you doing with your life. That ain't my business. I don't give a fuck who is parking their car in whose fucking garage because I'm right here with my fucking man. I know who I'm fucking. And I know where I'm getting my bread from. So it's kind of like people, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's the facts, it's the reality, man. A lot of us is worried about the wrong shit, right? And I'm just speaking in general. If the shoe fits, wear that bitch. And if it doesn't apply, let it fly.
Dan Shore. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's dive right in. Can you explain the charges? What exactly is lewd conduct?
Well, in this case, the allegations are that this assistant principal at a school who is in her 50s, I believe, had a student who is being brought to her office as part of some disciplinary response, had this male student who was 13 years old massage her feet and
I'm gonna rewind it back, but I mean, I just have a question, right? Like, is something wrong with these old heads in their 50s? Like, is they man not giving it to them good? I mean, they got hymns out, right? If Viagra isn't working, they got hers too. And I mean, listen, from the commercials to the people that I hear use that shit, hey, according to them, it works. I wouldn't suggest, use that shit constantly because if you're young, I don't see the need of you using any type of shit like that. But damn, what is it? The men in their 50s, something wrong with their motor? The engine not working? They can't seem to, satisfy the person they with? Women, what's going on? That y'all want to sit here, y'all in your 50s, 60s, 40s, and y'all looking at these 14-year-olds that don't even know how to wipe their asses right. Like a sexual thing. Am I tripping? How does a 13-year-old turn on a 50-year-old? He's too childish for me. I don't want the son, I want the daddy. The fuck wrong with these women?
who is being brought to her office as part of some disciplinary response, had this male student who was 13 years old massage her feet and made other sexualized comments to her. And there seemed to be, from what law enforcement says, at least 2 other witnesses to this. So a lot of times we have these kinds of cases and it's just the word of the alleged victim. And in this,
no, what we have here is a 50-year-old married principal, right, that wanted to get her, I guess her rocks kicked off, right, by a 13-year-old. Let's be real. She wanted that 13-year-old. So she tried to, I guess, foreplay with him, try to flirt with him. I guess she tried to seduce the young boy. And it didn't work. Because not all young boys around that age is into, sitting here and trying to, get their little wee-wees wet. Come on, man. A lot of these young boys is really out here, want to do sports. They're not even worried about these little shorties. They want to get their head, they want to get themselves on the right track before they even think about having kids or getting married or, do they get their little crushes? A lot of them do. But if y'all pay attention and listen enough to these kids in the community, right, you will hear them. You can actually hear what they want.
this case, if law enforcement's accurate, there's actually other people who either witnessed this or overheard part of it. So that makes it an even stronger case for the prosecution.
What does lewd conduct by an authority figure entail, and how is it different from just general misconduct?
I think when people abuse their power, it sometimes makes it an even worse situation, because one thing is that kids are told to trust their teachers, listen to their teachers, especially an assistant principal or principal, someone in authority. And when we see someone allegedly violate that power, violate that trust that the student and their family and other people have in them, then that makes it a more heightened crime, not just in the criminal sense, but also in terms of possible disciplinary action by the school. I conduct sexual misconduct investigations regularly for schools across the country. And when someone's in a position of trust and power, often people will agree to do things with them, including sexual things, because again, people are told to listen to their authority figures. We tell people all the time, students, kids, if the principal tells you to do something, you listen to them, right? So here you have a 13-year-old being told by the assistant principal, massage my feet, allegedly, and he went along with that according to the allegations.
And the alleged victim, he was 13 years old. Does the victim's age increase the severity of the charges?
Absolutely. Anytime someone in authority asks someone to do something like this, that's going to be, at a minimum, something that they can get either suspended or fired for. Often it's criminal charges, but also engaging in some type of sexual interactions with someone who's younger is illegal in every state of the country if they're underage. Many states have specific laws that if someone's a student and someone's an authority figure or an employee at a school, that makes it an even worse penalty. But to go back to your specific question, the younger the person is, the more egregious it is. It's wrong if someone's 17 or 16 and they're a student, but it's even more egregious if they're 13. They're in less of a position to push back, to assert themselves. So anyone who's underage, it's wrong to do this, but if someone's 13, it's even more egregious.
How many years is she looking at, if any? I mean, because this could potentially be her first defense, if this is her first defense.
I don't care if it's her first offense. Lock her up and throw away the key. Throw a book at her. It doesn't matter what predator it is, whether it's female or male. Doesn't matter how bad the offense is. They shouldn't have done it. They should have been able to control their impulses. Because I'm getting tired of the excuses, yo, for real, for real. And it says, look, listen, there's no cure for that type of sickness. Like I say, somewhere in fantasy land, right along with Peter Pan, we building caskets up in this joint. And by the way, yo, make sure y'all check out a TikTok, a Shorty's TikTok, man. We got the virtual store, and y'all will find all of a Shorty's merchandise. The little John is not gonna let me. I gotta pay my StreamYard, right? So I'm not gonna be able to show y'all the Johns. But listen, man, we got the hashtag let's put away all pedophiles, right? And then we got the t-shirts. We building caskets up in this John, all right? Because that's what we literally is doing. We exposing these predators, right? And we building caskets. Basically, what we're trying to tell y'all is, since there's no cure for these predators, if you could listen, if you could put down the dogs, we could put them down. Rachel, slow down, because you can't get a little explicit on here. And if you do, they're going to strike this damn live like they did the last one. So calm your words down. All right, calm down a little bit. Bring it down a notch, Shorty.
Then could she just get probation?
Well, I started as a sex crimes prosecutor 25 years ago, and I prosecuted cases similar to this, although not involving required foot massages by teachers. I had other types of sexual abuse, and I investigate those cases now. There's a lot of factors in terms of what a sentence would be. One would be any prior record that this person has. Another big factor is what the victim and the victim's family are looking for, because sometimes to get a significant prison sentence, you need to actually go to trial, and a lot of times a family may not want their 13-year-old to go through that. Whether the defendant pleads guilty and takes responsibility is a big factor, because often that leads to a lesser sentence, maybe even a non-incarceratory sentence. So those are some of the factors that will determine whether or not there's a long prison sentence or any type of jail sentence from this.
And you know what's crazy? Me personally, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say this, right? They keep saying that they don't want to put a child through trial, right? Because it might mess up, their mental and stuff like that. But I feel as though that decision should be up to the child. right? If they got it to the point, right, where they want to sit here and they got lawyers in front of a child's face, right, in certain cases, right, where they know they need to throw the book at the predator, but they don't, but they'll sit here and ask the child, do you think 5 to 10 years is okay? And the child just wants this person put away, and they're going to say yes. So why shouldn't the child have the option to say, well, I want to, go in front of a judge, in front of these jurors and tell my story, right? Because there's some kids that actually want these predators put away. They want their story heard. At 13 years old, he has the option or she has the option. I feel as though they should have the option, right? If they want to go up or they feel as though they're not ready, then they shouldn't go up. But at 13 years old, they should have the option. I've heard so many stories of different kids, right, saying that they wanted to go on the stand, but they didn't because their parents thought they couldn't handle it. See, when it comes to these type of cases, it doesn't matter what type of abuse it is, whether it's sexual abuse, mental abuse, or physical abuse, right? These types of abuse, these type of traumas can either make you or break you. And I feel as though that, I don't know why is it, some parents can't tell how strong or how weak their kids are, but they should be able to. But this is just my opinion, and I'm only saying this because of the different stories that I've heard, the different experiences I've been through, and not just those, but mine alone. Because when I was a child too, and I feel as though that I should have had the choice. Should I be on the stand or should I not be on the stand? And that choice got taken. Some of us can't go through the trauma of, reliving that again. But maybe there's a point in time where they can. So the choice should be up to the kid. If they forcing the kid to say if it's okay, if their predator should have 5 to 10 years, no. 5 to 10 years ain't shit. Make them do some time. Or the same way y'all put down a dog for having rabies and biting somebody, put down the motherfucker that took the innocence of a child or anybody.
And we talked about it a little bit, moments ago, but let's just dive more into the power dynamic here. I mean, a student and an administrator, let's just talk more about that, about how, just like how you said, egregious it is.
Sure. One thing that we see in many of these cases that I've prosecuted and investigated is someone taking advantage of the power and control over another person. And again, when someone's an assistant principal in authority over a 13-year-old, the 13-year-old is consistently told throughout.
Trump is now in his first month in office, and we want to know how you think he's doing as president. You guys know how I think.
Their lives, listen to your teachers. Most kids are told that's what you have to do. If an assistant principal tells you to come into their office and then tells you to rub their feet, it's a very, very difficult situation for that 13-year-old to be in, because they probably don't want to do that, but they're also concerned that what heightened consequences would there be for them if they say no? It's hard.
That's why, as parents, we need to have these conversations with our kids. Listen, I have all types of conversations with my kids, and I let them know, listen, you have to listen to your authority, the teacher, the principal. But when a teacher or principal goes outside from just talking to you to trying to put their hands on you, or telling you that, you put your hands on them, or touching you in places they shouldn't be touching you, rubbing the feet is one of them. There's no way in hell you should sit here and tell my child to rub your feet. First of all, that's not your man or your wife. Second of all, that's not your slave or your employee or your maid or whatever the fuck you want to, your caretaker, your nanny, none of that shit. You got me fucked up, yo. Talk to your kids, yo. Like, you really got to talk to your kids, because listen, if a school calls me telling me, yo, your child's in trouble for this, I'm going to go to the school and I want to know why. I'm going to listen to my child and I'm going to listen to them. And what's crazy is when you listen good enough, you could tell who's telling the truth and who's telling a lie. And you should know your child. You should know your child is lying to you. You should know your child is telling you the truth, or your child is hiding something from you. As a parent, you should know your kids. I'm not saying you should know everything from them, but you should know your child. What scares them, what makes them happy. You see where I'm coming from? What terrifies them? If they get nightmares, what's their favorite food? You should know your child. What intimidates them?
To push back against someone like that who has control over your academic career and your life at school. So using that power to get someone else to engage in inappropriate conduct like this makes it even more egregious. And we see that in a lot of places in life, not just in schools, by investigative companies, people in authority who make the other person, the victim, feel, well, I don't want to do this, but if I say no, what are going to be the consequences? Will there be retaliation? And that's a scary thing for someone to have to think about.
Yeah, but when a child is told by another adult that you have to do this with my body, rub my feet, or rub my back, or sit here and touch my private parts, man, the child shouldn't have to be scared to come to a parent and let them know, look, I told this teacher, I told this person, I didn't want to do this because I don't feel comfortable, and this is what they made me do, or this is what they wanted me to do. However the child puts it together, a child should not feel scared in that situation. But unfortunately, we do have situations like that. Why? I don't know. That's something that I would love to go deeper into, right? But what can cause a child, right, if there's nothing traumatic in their life, to have fear on speaking up on something bad that's happening to them? I mean, that's unless we're not having these conversations with our kids and we're, not letting them know that they can come to us for anything. But a child should not feel scared to speak up, on an adult that is sitting here doing things to them or having them do things to them that they shouldn't be doing. I don't know what the reason is, right? And once again, we're going to go a little deeper into that. So how can schools create a safer environment that empowers students to report misconduct without fear?
Lark reportedly said she crossed the line to one of the witnesses. Could that be used as a confession in court?
Absolutely. So if someone says something such as I crossed the line, that would be a confession. The question would be the reliability of that witness who said they heard that from this defendant. So if the person who says they heard that or were told that testifies or tells law enforcement and it's deemed credible in trial by a jury or a judge, if it's a bench trial, or just as a part of the evidence consideration in plea bargain negotiations, that's definitely going to be a big factor because, as I said before, a lot of these cases, you just have the alleged victim and the defendant and no other person who is present. Here, it seems, based on what law enforcement has said, that other people heard or saw some of this. And also, as you just mentioned, one of them said that they received what really is a confession to say that they went too far.
Can prosecutors also use her alleged nickname for the student, which was Sexy Chocolate, as evidence of intent or pattern?
Yes, because it's another piece of showing alleged inappropriate conduct, because even without the foot massage, having a sexualized nickname for a 13-year-old in school shows that someone is breaking the norms of what is appropriate in their school. So it may show a pattern. And if the defense is that, oh, I would never do anything inappropriate, but other people heard them using this nickname in front of other people, that doesn't necessarily prove that there was this foot massage, but it does show that this defendant was breaking the rules of.
It shows that this grown-ass woman was trying to flirt with this 13-year-old young boy. Because what grown woman feels comfortable enough to just call, a child Sexy Chocolate? Give them any type of nickname that they would sit here call somebody they have a crush on, or a boyfriend or a husband. Come on, man. She was trying to seduce this kid and she thought she can get away with it. Man, listen, with certain kids you can. There are 13, 14-year-olds out here that, sit here and think it's the best thing that a grown-ass woman like that is approaching them like that. But then there's some 13-year-olds that don't. They feel uncomfortable. Like, lady, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Decorum, treating people in a really inappropriate way who are, in this case, the boy was 13 years old. So that is definitely powerful evidence if that's used by law enforcement.
Now, the Polk County Sheriff is saying,
here's how you can publish your book in less than 30 days. I honestly never thought it could be this easy. I heard about spy.
saying that during the interview, the assistant principal allegedly said that this was all a joke and that she was just doing this to humble the student. Could that be a defense?
Well, that may be true.
Let me ask y'all a question. If y'all found out that your middle school teacher's way of humbling your child was by calling him into her, no, my bad, principal. Your child's middle school principal calls your child into her office, right? And her way of disciplining him and humbling him is by taking her stinky, crusty, molded ass feet, right? Out her stinky, molded ass, crusty ass shoes and put them on the lap of your child and tell them, rub my feet, and start talking sexually to him. What would y'all reaction be? How would y'all confront this teacher? Would y'all call the cops, or would y'all take justice into your own hands? I would call the cops, but I know the cops ain't gonna do shit in reality, right? So for me, it's kind of like a combination of both. It's a combination of both. If the cops don't do what the fuck they gotta do, I'm definitely gonna do it. That's where Griselda Blanco comes in. Shit. I be telling motherfuckers, man, I don't think I'm Griselda Blanco, but I sure as hell got a split personality. That split personality shit is good and it's evil. Shit, one side is good, one side is evil. It's like God and Lucifer. It's like having an angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other one. And when the situations like this happen, boy, when it comes to my kids and you have violated them, made them feel uncomfortable, trust me. Is it still it's a split personality. Now I ain't a good girl no more. Shit. Now, listen, the devil has come out of me. Boy, all hell has broke loose. Don't fuck with my kids. Don't listen. Let a grown ass motherfucking woman sit here and tell my 15-year-old son all these types of bitch. Listen, knuckle up. Knuckle the fuck up. Because when I'm done with you, no weapons needed, the coffin's ready.
True. It might have been a joke to the assistant principal. That doesn't mean it was a joke to the student. So maybe the assistant principal thought it was funny as a disciplinary measure to make him rub her feet. But from the 13-year-old's perspective, that is a really scary, inappropriate thing to be asked to do. So I don't think that's a real defense at all.
Because this bitch was on some type of madam shit. You know what a madam is? Like, what made her think that the child was going to be comfortable with this shit? She was on some type of madam shit. All she needed was to try to put a leash on the bull. Like, this teacher tripping, yo. Lock her up, throw away the key, and throw the book on her.
It certainly doesn't make the allegations change. If the person saying, well, yeah, I had a 13-year-old massage my feet as part of discipline for some alleged misbehavior, just because it was a joke. And I see that in sexual harassment cases a lot when I investigate them and the person who's the sexual harasser says, oh, I was just joking. But for the other person, it's not a joke. And that's a really important factor here.
What responsibility does the school have in just protecting their students from staff misconduct? And could they potentially be liable?
They should.
That's a great question. Whenever I do an investigation like this, there's always two main parts of it. One is, what did the person who's accused of misconduct do? And the second part is, what did the school know about? And that is always an important part of an investigation like this, maybe not by law enforcement, but by the school administrators to determine, were there warning signs? Did people hear about this nickname that you referenced before and not do anything? Because sometimes before there's an egregious act like the alleged foot massage, there's other types of misconduct like that nickname. And if someone intervened and stopped it from escalating, that could have been helpful. So when you're talking about what kind of liability there is, a big factor is, well, what was known, what should have been known, and were warning signs ignored? Or was this something that no one knew this was going on until this latest act allegedly happened?
Yeah, that's a good question that she asked, right? I mean, because what's crazy is you hear all the schools say that they don't know, right, why the teacher has done this. They didn't see the signs. I call that bullshit, right? And that's why, I have the petition is in the link. I mean, in the chat down below. The link to the petition is in the chat down below. It is also in my description box down below, right? And in this petition, it specifically says, right, we want deeper backgrounds. That's what we want. We want deeper backgrounds on these teachers. Should these teachers have some type like of evaluation done, right? Background search to see if they're capable of being around these kids. Do they got the, the mentality to be around these kids? Because I feel as though that some of these teachers, right, have been through some type of trauma in their past, one, or how can I say it? Or they're just predators that haven't been put on the list, right? But I feel as though if they go through an evaluation, right, to determine the mental before they get hired, that'll be a big step. And I know it takes a lot of work and it might take a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it has to be done. How can we make our schools safer? That's the whole purpose, right? And I feel as though that's one step to take, and it should be taken into consideration. How far back do they go on these backgrounds when it comes to these teachers? And I'm not talking about the criminal background, right? Well, I'm not, my bad, I said that wrong. I'm not just talking about the criminal record, right? I'm also talking about their mental health records, because it's out there. And if there's not one, that evaluation will help determine if they should be hired or not. Because it seems like they're just hiring teachers just to hire teachers. And a lot of teachers, I understand why a lot of people don't want to work in the teaching field because of how the students are. You see where I'm coming from, how the parents are. But this thing is like, if we could just figure out how we can get the teachers and the community and the students to, work together, that would be a great thing. But unfortunately, I know that that's something that's it's going to take a lot. Can it happen? Yeah. But for some reason, they got to make their money, as they say. I want to get into that, but I know YouTube will strike me on that shit. So that'll be a topic for maybe TikTok, but I think TikTok has been taken over by one of these companies. So I don't know. I'm going to see. Probably Rumble. I might get my Rumble started because I should be able to talk a little more on Rumble. But there's some stuff that I want to be able to share that I know YouTube will sit here and strike me down for.
Are there any federal laws like Title IX that can come into play here as well?
Yeah, I'm an expert in Title IX investigations, and Title IX would require the school to do an investigation and have some type of process and outcome, and they have concurrent jurisdiction with law enforcement. So while law enforcement's investigating it, the school has a requirement too. But Title IX is a requirement for the schools to do their own internal process to enforce everyone having an experience at school that doesn't have sexual harassment or sexual assault. So it's not a criminal statute, Title IX, but it would require the school to do a thorough investigation with due process for everybody.
And that's the problem that we're having. See, it doesn't matter if it's the schools, right? If it's the judicial system, right? The police department, the lawyers, the judges. It doesn't matter if it's a factory, right? It doesn't matter if it's the politicians, right? Here's the biggest problem that we're having, right? We do have a lot of policies. We have a lot of laws in place. You see where I'm coming from? But a lot of these policies do need to be changed. But even if we do change these policies, there's one thing that hasn't been done yet. They don't get enforced. DHS department, the same thing. Department of Human Services, the policies are not enforced. What they should be doing, they're not doing. So if Title IX is out there, right? Title IX should be enforced. And that's the biggest issue that we're having. How do we get these policies to be enforced no matter what grounds is on? School grounds. How can I say? Politician grounds. Programs. Listen, it's hard to put it down into words, man. One of these days I'm gonna get my shit together. Y'all gonna listen. I just don't want to confuse people. See, when you start talking big, mofos don't understand you either. Snaps, so either way, I'm screwed. But I'll figure it out.
Now, if this does go to trial, does the student need to testify, or can the case just move forward without him?
There's no legal requirement for the student to testify, but it would be hard to get a conviction without that student, because the prosecution needs to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. One way they could do that without the student's testimony is if other people did witness the conduct and they testified to it. So that's one way to get a conviction without the student. But often without the student, it's hard to show a jury that has to unanimously find someone guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. It's hard to do that without the student, but it certainly can be done. There are other witnesses, if there's the admission that you talked about before. So it's not impossible, but it's more challenging then.
Well, like how you said, it's potentially more challenging. Is there, hypothetically, if the student doesn't want to do it, they're scared, or, the parents doesn't want this to happen, could the case just be dropped, or at least just pleaded down?
Well, it's very common for these cases to result in a plea bargain. And in fact, few of them do go to trial. Often there is some kind of plea agreement, and what the plea agreement is sometimes is partially based on whether or not the alleged victim wants to testify, because that gives the prosecution more confidence in going to trial and less need to agree to a lesser plea bargain. But if they know this student's never going to testify in court, their family doesn't want them to, the government's under more pressure to get some type of plea bargain. So at least there's some type of conviction, some type of consequence. And that's going to be one of the things that the government weighs when they're prosecuting this case.
What legal protections are in place to shield the child from re-traumatization if he does decide to testify?
Well, hopefully whoever's prosecuting this, whatever prosecutor's working on it, also gets services for that student, counseling services, support services. Same thing with the school. They should be supportive. One thing that is part of re-traumatization is a fear of retaliation, and that's very common in a case like this. So making sure that both the school and the prosecutors explain the rules that hopefully will protect this 13-year-old from retaliation from either this teacher or other people. It's a very challenging thing to testify in public about something like this. It can be embarrassing. There's a lot of misplaced self-blame on the part of victims in cases like this. So there are a lot of counseling groups in place now that didn't exist 20, 30 years ago. So hopefully that gives support for the student.
Now let's talk a little bit about the alleged witnesses. We know that all school employees are considered mandated reporters. Could any of the witnesses who reportedly watched this incident happen get in trouble for not stepping in and stopping it right away?
It's possible. They're certainly going to be asked about that, maybe if they are cooperating with the investigation.
We've seen plenty of cases where the witnesses don't get in trouble. So once again, that leads back to where they need to enforce these policies. And that goes back to me saying, how can we enforce these policies and make sure that they stay enforcing them?
And the prosecution, then that's going to be in return for not facing.
Blessings, Gary Bust It Down. Guys, make sure y'all go check out Gary Bust It Down. Great conversations, great topics, man. And I love the fact that, like I tell people, man, he brings up topics that people are scared to touch on. Big shout out to Gary Bust It Down, y'all.
Consequences for their failure to act. Maybe they were part of how this came to light. That's something that will be looked into. But the fact that they're cooperating now and giving information now certainly helps their case if they are accused. But a lot of times, as I said before, when a school is looked at for their responsibility, the things that are looked at are other employees aware of the misconduct, and do they allow it to occur? So that's a great question. I think that's something that needs to be looked into more, both by the school itself and by law enforcement.
Now, this is an assistant principal. We don't know who the witnesses are, but, I'm just thinking about the hierarchy of schools. The only person above the assistant principal is the principal and then the superintendent. So just hypothetically playing devil's advocate, could the witness, who I'm assuming, let's just pretend is under the assistant principal, say like, hey, I was afraid as well to stop it, to speak up, because they, were just scared of their losing their job potentially?
Yes, and we see that all the time, where people are afraid to speak up about misconduct because they're worried about retaliation against them. And unfortunately, that's not a fear that is irrational. A lot of people do experience retaliation when they do speak up about misconduct. So it's really important for any school, any organization to create a culture where they tell people, if you see some type of misconduct, especially involving a student and an authority figure, here's where you should go to speak up. Here's the person who's the point person you can go to, and encourage people regularly to do that. Let people know where they can contact the right person. Because a lot of times I talk to school officials, teachers who want to report something, and they say, well, I didn't really know where I should go. So that's really important. And that's something that will be looked at here. What policies, procedures did the school have, and how were the employees and students told about those so they knew where to go if they saw something?
Could the student's family pursue a civil lawsuit against, the assistant principal or even the school?
Well, certainly against the assistant principal, they could, if this is true, what the allegations are. And against the school, anyone could pursue a civil lawsuit. I think one of the big factors about whether they're successful is whether the school was in a position to stop this earlier. Was there something in this assistant principal's background check that they ignored before hiring them? Or were there other warning signs, such as that nickname that was being used? Were people aware of that and ignoring that? So those are the types of things that might lead to enhanced civil liability for the school.
So they might have that's the thing that I do notice, that even if the child doesn't have, how can I say, justice, like you being able to put this teacher away or something like that, because of what the teacher did to your child, now you have a civil lawsuit against the school. And that's why I'm saying, like, it's like these schools don't get tired of these lawsuits. Isn't it bad enough the child allegedly underpaid, which we know, we did a whole live the last time how much the school gets, right? They was talking about the budgets, all this, like we broke all that shit down. But me personally, I feel as though that they need to train these teachers constantly, right? Do y'all believe that training the teachers constantly will make a little difference, right? What role does ongoing training play in preventing ethical breaches in the education system, and how can it be improved? What solutions can we bring to the table, right, when it comes to the teachers in their ethical behavior with the students? Do we feel as though they need more training? Do we feel as though that me personally, like I said, an evaluation should be done. Training is a good thing to do too. Like they constantly train them at least every 3 months or something. I would say every 3 months. Because I don't know, some changes need to be done, but they already do training. But what type of training? You see where I'm coming from? Should we give these teachers? How can schools foster an environment where students feel safe and empowered to speak up about uncomfortable interactions with any school staff?
Let's talk about attorney strategies. What are the biggest challenges the prosecution may face here?
The biggest challenge I've faced in cases like this is cooperation of the victim, because very often, for understandable reasons, a 13-year-old or someone around their age does not want to testify in court. Their family doesn't want them to testify in court. They don't want their name to get out there. A lot of media keeps the name anonymous, but if someone's testifying in court, often it will get out there. And people understandably don't want that. And that makes it more difficult to get a prosecution that's successful. So that's definitely the biggest factor from the prosecution in terms of challenges.
And just going back to, the family suing, I thought of something. Could they possibly sue for emotional distress as well?
Sure. Whenever someone sues in a case like this, that's definitely a big part of what the lawsuit is, the consequences to that student, whether it interfered with their ability to engage in school after that. A lot of people who experienced sexual misconduct in the educational institution then have a lot of trouble going back to school, excuse me, and learning and studying and things like that, when it's the place where they just went through this very, very negative experience. So that's it. And then we've seen people unable to participate in activities, do other things after that because of the trauma. So that is a big part of a lawsuit like this.
If convicted, would Dr. Lark have to register as a sex offender?
That would probably be the case. A lot of it depends on what the specific statute is there, and also what the conviction is for. Is there a plea bargain for something that's less? Or if there's a conviction of the top count, then I would expect there would be some registration requirement after that.
I mean, if convicted, yeah, she is going to be in the sex registry. Shit. I mean, a man can get locked up for just telling a female to suck, his, you know what? A man can get locked up just for pulling out his, his wee wee, right, in public. I'm gonna say like his fucking penis in public, right, and pissing. So, I mean, if she don't get locked up for sitting here and, how can I say it, making a 13-year-old uncomfortable for doing the things that she made him do, I don't know what to say. She might get away with this shit, like a lot of other teachers have, a slap on the wrist. And that's why we keep bringing awareness to these topics.
And how would, like, walk us through that process? Because that means, like, hypothetically, that Dr. Lark would lose everything. She has been an educator for, I'm assuming, many years. Now, if you become a registered sex offender, that means that you can't, continue.
I don't care. Listen, she should. She didn't give a fuck. She didn't think about how hard she worked. It's crazy, right? She got a teaching degree, right? And she's got a PhD degree. You're not just a teacher, but you're a doctor. You're supposed to be helping students, not sitting here traumatizing them.
Continue your career.
Right. I would suspect if an assistant principal is actually convicted with a criminal charge for having a student have to massage her feet, that person's not going to be allowed to work in another school after that. I just can't imagine another school who knows about this and the name is out there now, so it would be part of any background check, allowing that person to be hired. But again, all defendants are innocent until proven guilty. Maybe there's a defense here. Maybe there's other facts that we don't know about because they haven't been publicly said yet. So we shouldn't assume that the person is guilty. But if someone is convicted for something like this, I have a hard time seeing how they would be put in a position of authority over children again.
Well, let's talk more about the defense. What would a solid defense strategy be? If you were defending her, what would you suggest?
I've lost a couple by accident, and a couple of them would need to be pulled. And now the rest of them right now are just like cancer. Once the one next to it gets sick, the next.
I think any defense side has to first look at the strength of the case. So if the other witnesses were present or they overheard something and this confession, if the defense knows that this confession was real, then I think the strategy really needs to be one of negotiation with the prosecution and try to get the least severe conviction in some type of plea bargain. Because if you do have the student testifying and you have other people saying they either heard or saw it, and you have this supposed confession, it's hard to see how a defendant would not be convicted at trial. So a big part of defense strategy is assessing the strength of the case and then negotiating for a plea bargain. So maybe they could negotiate for a reduced conviction that doesn't have jail time, maybe sparing this person having to register as a sex offender. But I still don't see how any conviction at all, this person would be able to teach again or be an assistant principal again. Strategy is assessing the strength of the case and then negotiating for a plea bargain. So maybe they could negotiate for a reduced conviction that doesn't have jail time, maybe sparing this person having to register as a sex offender. But I still don't see how.
Why would anybody try to spare this person from becoming a sex registry? I mean, being a part of the sex registry. Like, come on, man. Put her ass in the sex registry. That's the problem right there, yo.
Any conviction at all, this person would be able to teach again or be an assistant principal again. But again, maybe there are facts that we don't know about that show that this did not happen as it's been alleged.
How long do these types of cases typically take to go through the court system?
Unfortunately, the court systems grind very slowly. And
now y'all tell me that we don't need cameras in these principals' offices. Why? Yo, listen, man, I don't get tired of saying this. Why? Why should we give, why should we put our trust in, our kids in the hands, in the care of complete strangers for, 6 to 8 hours a day, 5 days out of the week? Why? To teachers that don't even give a fuck? They would look at your child like it's a grown man. They would sit here and instigate a situation instead of helping, being a part of it. I can go about this in so many fucking ways, because we don't just have teachers sexually assaulting students, right? We also have these teachers engaging, being part of the kids that are bullying other kids. That's the crazy part about it. Instigating. And that's why I feel as though that in these classrooms, each and every single one of them, there should be cameras. Principal's office, there should be cameras. I think it was a few years back when we reviewed and reacted to a case where somehow, some way, this teacher, right, ended up with I'm not sure if it was kindergarten or first grade. How in the world did this child end up in her basement? How? And she sexually assaulted this child. Same thing with the teacher that had a student, and I think this was a 6th grade teacher, if I'm not mistaken. She had a student keep an eye out while she had sex with a student in her class. But y'all telling me just trust every teacher. Man, you got me fucked up. You know why I fight so hard? I fight so hard because of what that judge said to me the day that I was there with my son in court. And she gonna tell me she has the ultimate respect for all teachers. Looked at my son like he wasn't shit, and it was his first offense. This teacher should have never laid her hands on my child to begin with. And what's crazy is I didn't know until years later that there was a way to beat this case. But by then, it was already too late. But I still got some type of justice. Because at the end of the day, I sued the shit out that school and got my son into a private school and all the services that he needed.
And some of these trials take up to a year to get to, maybe even more. A lot of it depends on also, are there plea negotiations that are going on for a while, and that could delay things. Usually it's in the defense's interest to delay things, because the longer it goes, the more the witnesses, their memories fade, their interest in testifying fades. So I know as a former prosecutor, you don't want it to be delayed. And often the defense is the one delaying it, trying to buy more time, trying to get more information that'll help them negotiate a plea bargain. But a lot of these cases don't go to trial for a year or more.
All right. Well, this is something that we will definitely be following. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on. It's great talking with you.
Polk County Public Schools Superintendent released a statement saying, quote, "This is abhorrent behavior for anyone who works among students, especially an administrator. This person no longer has any business being around children. We commend the school principal for immediately reporting this incident so we could take action and work with the Polk County Sheriff's Office to protect students." For Law and Crime, I'm Kennedy Walker.
All right, guys, this is crazy, right? It's getting worse and worse. I've put solutions on the table, right? I'm gonna keep bringing awareness to this, and I'm gonna keep bringing more solutions to the table. Just let us shorty know what y'all think, what could be done, what changes could be made when it comes to the policies, right? Like I've told people, y'all, I've had people come on here, right, and give their ideas, and it has helped the shorty out. Talk to the governors, the senators, the mayor, the legislators, Congress people. See, so I love hearing your ideas, because at the end of the day, I can go out there and put it, in front of their faces. I'm going to keep fighting. I'm not somebody who's going to give up. I fall for nothing, but I stand for something. See where I'm coming from? And I feel as though we need to keep fighting for our kids. Let us really know what y'all think. I've asked mind-provoking questions, right? I would love to hear your answers in the comments down below, right? And let's get these discussions started. Till next time, this y'all shorty Rachel, and we out. In the face of darkness, I stand tall and strong.